I mean, our show,
Hey.
if our show is not anything but a joke, but why not start it this way?
Well, I'm hoofing it, taking the show on the road in the best way possible. Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Best of Our Week, where I was having one of the best moments of the week and completely lost track of time. And now I'm on foot back to the Gadget Lab so we can do this for real.
All I know is you took the show on the road. You didn't even tell me that we're going on the road. That's the weird part. I feel like I should be somewhere.
We're really going to test this T-Mobile 5G in my neighborhood now. We'll see how that goes.
Oh man, I've been testing out that US Mobile thing. I don't know if you saw it. They reached out.
So the team at US Mobile is getting really aggressive.
Oh yeah,
on putting out those SIM cards. I took 2 cards for a test drive, and that's actually what's kind of helping us pick between T-Mobile and Verizon. It's all because of US Mobile.
Well, so yeah, US Mobile kind of piggybacks. It's an NVMO kind of thing. It's just they resell the service. For me, at least in my area, they're literally the exact same thing as T-Mobile since they're using T-Mobile cell towers. So at home, I get T-Mobile Wi-Fi calling. So I've been testing them out. I love their cards. Very nice little. If we can focus. Very nice.
Very patriotic. It's all about the freedom.
4th of July coming up a couple of days from now. Why not?
But no, I've really liked their service, and I feel like between between Mint, US Mobile, and Visible, you've got some incredible competition for T-Mobile and Verizon MVNOs.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I didn't even know the US Mobile thing realistically existed, but I was testing. So I've been testing it out on the Xperia 1 Mark III, right? So I wanted a third SIM. I plug it in. Dude, I got 650 megabits down. 600, man. Like how?
Oh, nets. Sorry. Yes.
That's sub 6. That's sub 6.
It's remarkable sub 6. And again, it's we're seeing all those LTE plus network improvements.
It's
surprising. It's pretty cool.
Good. So very, very happy with the service they have. My only thing is that the SIM cards they sent me had a New Jersey number, so I've been getting the spam calls to New Jersey. So all dedicated.
They're exactly the same calls, but they've got kind of like a fun Italian flair.
A little bit, yeah.
And we're trying to reach you about your extended warranty. I don't know. It's probably out of warranty.
Call us back, otherwise we're gonna slash your tires. It's very simple.
Something terrible could happen to you because you're out of your warranty.
I do apologize to any of our East Coast followers.
Right. I'm channeling my dad's family, and they're all out of Hazlitt and Trenton. So I feel like I'm one step removed from being able to make that joke.
Okay, well, at least we have some credibility. We can hold on to.
No, we don't have credibility. Let's not go that far.
I was trying to make this a respectable show.
I feel like we're
almost at 200, man. We're like, what were we? I think we are almost at 200 subscribers, 190 something, 197 or something. So let us break those 200.
Well, I did want to say, especially kicking off this stream, happy Xperia Day.
Happy Xperia Day indeed, my friend, to all Xperia. Blessed be the Xperia that it is Xperia 1 Mark II.
Let it. So say we all.
So say we all. Yes. Welcome to the club.
I was very impressed. You made it your entire video, and you didn't seem to struggle with Sony's completely foreign and alien naming convention. Because it's the hardest thing to talk about an Xperia phone is just what do you even call it? How do you even say the name? It's impossible.
It's that's I have once you review one of their headphones, I think you become a master at the ability of saying Xperia 1 Mark II, Mark III.
Right.
The WH 1000 XM4s, XM3s, over the ear, on ear, all of that stuff.
Or like old school Sony televisions. I feel like their phones are pretty tame by comparison.
Hey man, they're doing much better than MSI and ASUS when it comes down to branding, where it just looks like somebody hit a keyboard by mistake and is like,
right?
That's the product name. But no, I mean the reality, there is a little bit of kind of a tech literally some YouTubers or some tech influencers that don't necessarily appreciate what they're getting, like what they're holding or what they're referring to. And
Right.
for my thing at the end of the video, I said, if you're going to start comparing this, because I know a lot of people are going to say, look, well, what about you said the moment you say that, I need you to first look at that phone. If it does not have a 4K 120 hertz refresh rate display, the conversation is over. There's no comparison.
Yeah.
Don't look at the price and tell me that this is not worth it.
Right. I it was definitely a point to stress in my video. I loved the commentary you had in your video.
Mm-hmm.
This is display technology that is only just now becoming more accessible on desktop monitors. To see these specs on a phone, I really don't feel like Sony's going to get enough credit.
Back, and I've spent thousands of dollars on this thing. I'm still struggling to get this thing to run. So, yeah, I don't think the reality is that you have to truly appreciate what Sony's doing, and what the amount of seriously. Like I didn't think they were going to do it when I saw the pre-briefing and when I got a chance to play with it the first time. I was very impressed with it, but I love the fact that I was able to get it for a second spin because, you know what, time always fixes things, and that for me, some of a little bit of the heartache. Had I done my video based on my initial impressions, what I did a month ago, my review would have been a little bit more bleak because I would have been like, Call of Duty Mobile, a big partnership, collaboration with Sony, only plays at 60 frames per second and no better.
Right.
And guess what? The update came through. And 4K, again, 120 frames per second on mobile.
Yep.
Crazy good. And it's so responsive, the touch responsive. They fixed a lot of things with it. So I feel like this is one of those things, like, I mean, as you said, with your side, it's hard to make a judgment call. It's hard to make a review on a phone that isn't even available publicly yet. And the software that you're running is a little bit, I mean, it wasn't even ready. I mean, we still were dealing with certain things in there. And are we in the bathroom, Juan?
No, this is kitchen. I wouldn't take you guys into the bathroom with me. Come on.
I kid. I knew where you were.
I'm tacky, but I'm not that tacky.
Okay, now we're going to be elevated with Juan to a next level. Everybody,
taking this to the next level.
We're taking it to the next level. We're gonna do a turn.
This computer booted up here. That was fun.
That was fun. Next week, come back and we're going to be doing it all the way from Pacific Palisades. Juan will be taking a nice long jog as he's talking to all of us. I will say.
Oh, go ahead.
No. I was saying it was fun. It was fun. Like we were able to kind of doing it live, taking it to the next level and working it. But I will say this much: Aditya's in the chat. Thank you for hanging out with us. Bathroom with Only Juan's premium tier exclusive. Aditya it always just goes, he wants
it always just goes sideways when he gets into the OnlyFans jokes.
Walking with Juan, oh my God, Michael Pepper Teppy, he's killing.
Although, so I mean, I'm on the TCL. What are these? The Move Audio S600s.
So here's I didn't get those. I was gonna reach out to Brad. I'm like, dude, you missed.
Yeah, I mean, I would. $100 buds. I think they did pretty well. I mean, you tell me, how was the audio while I was kind of huffing it there?
It's actually pretty decent. I was able to.
Not bad.
Yeah. I mean, so here's the thing: the couple times you were trying to get on, I always heard you. You couldn't hear me, so it was always. I think it's the setting.
That was a mobile web browser problem.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because I think in Chrome you're able to select Bluetooth as a.
That's right. And so for whatever reason, that never shows up on Firefox, and it drives me nuts.
Dude, the quality on this video right now is really good. Just go sideways and you're
good.
Done. Yeah, I don't know why you're logging in on your PC.
Nah, I'm gonna get back in here. We'll do it right from here.
We'll do it proper. Okay.
Sure.
So we have Greg in the chat. We have Gary the fireman always. El Jefe, Jeff is in the chat as well. Hope you're doing well, man. I don't know if Jeff, did you feel? I'm assuming you felt the earthquake, right? There was a minor. I want to say minor, but I don't know. I mean, depending on how you felt it, 4 point something in the Bay Area. And it's kind of weird with all this weather situation going on. Jonathan's in the chat. Adam is in the chat. Tech Odyssey, of course. Aditya logging in twice just to give us the support on both, Twitch and on YouTube. Love it. Greg as well, of course, hanging out with us. Ranesh, and I'm going a little bit back just to kind of get. Umar Aslam is in there as well. And some best of our week guy said sorry twice. I don't know. Yeah, we say sorry all the time. Hope you guys are doing well. Oh, Vince, of course, is in there as well. And so the short version of this is, I didn't think I was going to be able to get the phone another round till like much later. Surprisingly, the phone showed up yesterday. Literally the day. Yep, and now here's my echo.
Yeah.
And you know, for the most part, I already had an idea of what I wanted to do because if you guys watched the show, not the show, if you guys watched Juan's video, you probably got a better understanding of what, at least the thing that we've been working with, or at least that we had to kind of deal with on our end from, you know, giving our views on the phone. We had the device a little bit of time ago, and the embargo to a certain point kept kind of moving back and forth, and then there was a lot of other content that was put out on the internet, and it felt like a weird situation jumping in with, hey, here's my impressions. You know what I mean?
Right. Here's my first impressions a month later.
Well, absolutely, yeah, and with everybody kind of jumping in with practically just reviews at the, you know, on that event. So I felt like, you know, for me, I wanted to focus on something that I typically like to do, and specifically because of the 4K 120, I wanted to see how gaming was. Was there improvement? Do we get more, you know, than just the 90 frames? Because I've played Call of Duty on many devices in the past. 90 frames literally was the best that I'm able to get. Anything above 90 hasn't really been achievable. And it seems like Xperia 5 Mark II and Xperia 1 Mark III are the only two that have that right now. And that's the ability of going to the 120 hertz refresh rate with medium settings on the video. I just realized, my friend, that you are here twice. So let me go ahead and
you can switch me over.
Let's do that one. We'll bring you one. Hey, we got Juans. Hold on, let me do it one more time. I'm between two Juans. No, wait.
Between two Juans.
Juans. I had to do it. I had to do it even if it was just 1 second. So it's TK1 Mark 1 2. No, that doesn't work.
It's the Juan Mark II.
It's the Juan Mark II. That's exactly. It's last year's edition of Juan. Stay with us next week. We'll have the Juan Mark III. You know, showing up, and he'll be on mobile, on desktop, and on the cloud. That's how we'll do it.
Yeah, we'll hook them all up. I'll see how many phones we can run before StreamYard or my home internet totally craps out. It'll be great.
Totally. Or before Spectrum gives you a call. It's like, I'm sorry, sir, you're pulling in way too much. It's just not doable. Not happening this week.
Well, I figure with Spectrum's amazing 20 meg upload, I'm sure I can get tons of streams happening.
It's more than enough for 4K streams, man. Cheers, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well. It is Xperia week. And it also actually it's TCL week at the same time. Kind of a weird combination of weeks, kind of just talk. But it was TCL. So yes, So Juan and I.
This one we can show is like we still have it. It's great.
Well, yeah, no, and I got the. I keep forgetting the color. So I got the green color, or the more pet. Yeah,
I'm so jealous.
Hey, come on, let's focus.
Mine's this more like gray.
I don't know why Sony doesn't want to do it.
And I was catching the
Sony doesn't like it. It's too reflective.
Reflection.
Oh, here we are.
So all of my B-roll shots look blue.
It is. It depends on. Well, actually, in this one, it looks like it's more of a bluish tone, but it's really green. Like right there, you can get it more greenish tone, but like when you're holding it in your hand, it has a little bit of a blue hue into it. So it's very nice, very reflective. Reminds me a lot of what we had last year with the TCL 10 Pro, where it was more of a frosted, gradient color. But you know what? I like it. I like the upgrades. I like what they did, bigger display. They focused on what was important. One of the only devices on the market in the US market that has an IR blaster, and I don't think a lot of people even realize that it exists still. I mean, I know Xiaomi has it, and Xiaomi has it on all of their devices, but the reality is, it's like you don't really get a chance to appreciate having something like that. Yes.
Again, it was fun for like comparing TCL at $500 and Sony at like $1,300.
Yep.
Two of the most feature complete phones of their price brackets for 2021.
Absolutely, and it's the detail and the amount of focus of work that was done into each one of them. So the 10 Pro last year offered us a sneak peek. I feel like it was a good start for us. This year, I feel like they focused a little bit more. They gave us more of what the consumers want. They stuck to the price point, which is something that is very good. They didn't go over. They didn't try to one up to try to go $599 or anything higher. $499 is actually a reasonable price to go with for what they're offering. A 750G processor, gaming focused processor. It's a 7 series, not a 6 series, so it's definitely an upgrade. We have wireless charging at 15 watts, which is also very nice. That's something that, those are premium features that you expect from a flagship. Mind you, I understand it's a mid-tier or a mid-ranger processor, but the experience that you're getting here is like, and we saw this last year, the 7 series from Qualcomm has outperformed many of the mid-series chipsets that they've used in the past. And it runs so smooth that it's hard to find a reason for you to say this is not a flagship
it's
device.
Punching slightly above CPU performance for an 845. It's falling just slightly behind GPU performance on an 845. So it's kind of bookending a chipset that I feel is still not only mainstream consumer powerful, but you got to kind of hunt to find apps that are going to make that chipset struggle.
Absolutely.
Again, it's pretty fascinating. I mean, when I pulled this out of the box, one of the immediate like first reactions I had is like, this kind of feels like Velvet 2.
It has a little bit of a Velvet-esque, yes.
Similar in terms of the vibe,
the design,
corners,
the cameras, the so when I saw that, I had those vibes, but I didn't call it out in the video. But very much a Velvet. It's almost like they took a page from the Velvet. Yeah,
all the same features. Again, like you cut $100 off of the price from the Velvet last year, and you kind of end up here, and then you just add an IR blaster. You actually get one extra feature out of it.
So that's the recipe then. That's all you need. You take $100.
Take an LG, cut $100 off, add an IR blaster.
Call it a TCL 20 Pro, and congratulations! It's a $499 TCL.
I sent that to Brad, and I was like, Brad is one of our contacts at TCL.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our team. I was like, dude. So I was nerding out. I really was. And this is one of those, like, I really wish I had done an unboxing. I'm not a big fan of unboxings, but this first impression,
I do them very quickly now. My unboxings are like 20 seconds now.
But I'm opening it up and I'm like, man, this is a really nice phone. And I turn on the screen like, man, this is a really nice. I've got like 4 or 5 Twitter DMs with Brad just going like, this is like the love child of a OnePlus 8 and an LG Velvet, but without the obnoxious camera bulge. And he's like, "Oh, that's great. I'm going to quote you on that." And like, oh, man. This is I mean, such nice hardware, and it was nice to hear that they are considering some of their software support. That it's going to get 2 OS updates.
That's actually
which is technically just 1 year of OS updates.
Technically, so if they hit 12 in about a couple of months. Technically, they'll hit 13. You're right, in about a year, roughly.
But if we get 2 full years of direct OTAs for security support, that's a bit better than what our mid-ranger commitments were like last year. So I'd still call that progress.
I think there was a little bit of there was some discussion about that last year, and I felt like this year they wanted to focus on that. So and I think one of the other things, that specifically the headphones that you were mentioning, and I think the promotion is still going on this week. For anybody that picks up the pair of I think this was this one that goes with the 20 Pro, right? Because there was the 20 Pro and the 20S, and both were getting free pair of buds. The 20 Pro gets that beautiful smile and those that phone, but it doesn't. You don't get the one with that's extra.
So what I just did there is the wallpaper that you can't change on the phone.
Yeah, that's pretty much how you get the phone with that wallpaper, and that's how you know. That's how you know it's a 20 Pro, because otherwise it's the 20S. You'll get my face on it. That's the 20S.
I mean, so really the 20S is kind of the better buy if you think about it. So.
The 20. So here's the thing. Okay, so the 20S is about $250, right? But the 10 Pro from last year right now is $299. So it's $50 more, and you're technically getting a slightly it depends on how you slice it. They're both 6 series processors. The camera setup on the 10 Pro is still pretty decent, so you're depending on what you're looking for. But I feel like the 20S is still a very decent experience for what they're considering to be a mid-ranger. To me, it's more of a budget-friendly version, because there's actually even lower, the 20 SE. Luckily, I was able to get my hands on all 3 of them actually. So that's what I focused my video on Monday. I wanted to kind of knock it out by hitting all 3 the 20 series, basically, from what was it called, 189 all the way up to 499, and what you get with different experiences and what you're getting. I mean, the cheapest of the three has the biggest display. Yeah. So from content consumption, like larger battery, 5,000 milliampere.
But that makes perfect sense, because I mean, I feel like, again, okay, this is funny. I kind of feel like that was one of the solid strategies for LG. Mm-hmm. Was you know, if you shopped an LG Stylo on sale, you got this enormous screen with a humongous battery and like a super low powered chipset.
Yeah, yeah.
And that thing could stream movies like all day long.
It's a content consumption beast. That's the beauty of it.
So I feel like TCL, again, kind of being known for consumer electronics and TVs and stuff, that's the right play, is putting a big old hunking screen on their cheapest phone, so that like if you want to stream some Netflix, you're good to go.
You're absolutely it's a great. I think the combination each one of them offers is very specific experience. And then we obviously have the NXT Vision, the glasses. All I call them like the so they announced them last week. I don't think anybody has them yet to be able to even review. I was excited to get the chance to see that the announcement that this is actually going to be a product. It's no longer a demo, or because we've seen different variations of them at CES for years. It's not something new, but they finally finalized it, and I like the design. They actually minimized it even more than what I've seen in the past. So they look to be very thin, very sleek. And currently, or at least will be supporting the 20 Pro initially, and then of course other devices. So I'm looking forward to something that could augment the experience of watching movies on a smartphone, which I feel like. Well,
again, it's TCL is a lifestyle electronics brand. Mm-hmm. What I'll be interested to see is how they handle. Like for example, I don't know. Did you try plugging the 20 Pro in? Because I couldn't get a video out.
No, I tried connecting it as a
I think their glasses. I mean, I think it's interesting. Like they're making an accessory. It's not immediately going to be functional with their main line of phones, but they don't consider themselves a phone first company. So they're making an accessory that's going to be accessible to any other premium phone out there. It's probably going to be able to plug into other computing devices. I really want to try and see if I can hook it up with like a Nook, like a little small form factor PC,
portable form factor PC with a USB-C connection. You hook it up.
The first thing I'm going to try and do is hook it up to like Screen Plus or Dex, and just imagine like your workspace. Like instead of having to lug one of these like 15-inch portable monitors, a little Bluetooth, a mouse, and a pair of glasses, and there I can like dock Netflix to like 1/4 of my screen and pull up a spreadsheet, start writing underneath, and have like this huge canvas to work on. Like how incredible that would be for mobile productivity. You're gonna look kind of like a dork if you.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. No. I think you've.
I'm game.
Like you're way beyond Dorkville. I think you're pretty much in nerd town at this point.
You like a cafe at a Barnes and Noble, and someone runs off with my backpack, and I just don't even care because I'm plugged into Dex. It's like Johnny Mnemonic, but way less cool.
Okay. No Keanu, no cool look, no hard drive sticking, no cables hanging out from the back of your head. We get it.
I need an upgrade. I need like an extra gigabyte of storage.
Like, are you going to be able to handle all that data? It's not meant for that much. I'm like, oh yeah, I know. It's one of those. I see Andrew Wallace is in the chat. Mr. Fat Produce, the man. Gabrieletta is in there as well. Hey man, it was a very nice surprise. So I would say this much: I did not have enough time with the 20 Pro to put out a video that I felt was worthy of the device. That's primarily what I kind of wanted to touch on. So I felt like
it's such good hardware.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I'm happy that we finally got a chance to see it in the US. I know we were somewhat of the last market, like the last frontier. If there was a anything we can borrow from Star Trek, it is definitely one of the nicest things to see that it is coming to the US. And it's similarly on the Xperia. We learned more about obviously when the Xperia 1 Mark III is going to be showing up in the on US shores, and I was a little bit surprised, at least the way it came out, but I think was definitely very pleased with the TCL 20 Pro. So hopefully that'll be one of my working projects for next week. As soon as I'm done putting out a couple of videos on the Xperia 1 Mark III. I was like, yeah, we'll bring it back to Mark II. I want to focus a little bit more on it since I have it for literally 4 more days.
I haven't done one for. I haven't done one of these showdowns for a while, but I'm gonna be probably early next week publishing my worthy of a 1-year upgrade.
Yeah,
so
wow.
is the Mark III gonna be worth it to flip a Mark II if you already have a Mark II? So hopefully that'll be out Tuesday.
Peace, and I'll feed off of that, and I'll build it up onto my side because I'm not working on. I'm more focusing on the specific features about the Mark III, like focusing. Like I did the gaming review. I want to do the camera on its own, and I want to wrap it up, kind of a thing, an experience, because I feel like there's different layers to the Xperia 1 Mark III. It's not a single trick pony kind of a thing. You have to kind of look at it. It doesn't just do one thing. It's not just the display. The display is a big factor. It's a big plus in it. But there's so many more things in the background that are done, the optimizations, the ability of using it as an external monitor. I think it's still a big factor that I think a lot of people don't realize. It's a portable 4K, now 120 hertz refresh rate monitor for your camera. So if your camera support 4K 120 output, baby, you just got a monitor to match it.
And I still don't feel it's going to get enough credit because it's not just 4K 120, it's 4K overdriven. It's 4K 240.
It is
with black frame insertion to further reduce
at 240 hertz. At 240 hertz, yes,
to get 120 hertz. That is the kind of tactical display settings. Like I remember when Aorus came out with their first tactical gaming monitor, and it was a really big deal that their aim assist was doing. I believe it was 240.
Oh, crazy.
So again, it was a 240 hertz monitor, but not really. But it was like if it wasn't 3-to-1, it might have been sort of 1-to-1 black frame insertion. And what that did for gameplay, I mean, it was shocking. You wouldn't think that like the aim assist would make that big of a difference. And it was like I went from having like completely like unholdable hands in this game to like having like razor sharp precision first person shooter.
You're knocking people. Yeah. No.
And so we saw the first glimpse at this on the Xperia 5 Mark II, and there's a version of that, like the 90 hertz mode on the 1 Mark II is not really 90 hertz. It's really 45 with this motion blur trick.
It is, but the thing is that you were never capable of using any of those that 90 hertz refresh rate in any of the games.
It wasn't really 90 hertz. That's
what I'm trying to say. It wasn't really usable at least from my point of view when I was referring to it in the video on my side is it's a great way to upscale 4K 60 or 4K 45, but it wasn't tangible in any other aspects of the experience. So that's why I felt like
it basically made your app drawer a little crisper, but that was about it. Now I mean there's no pretense. There's no
now it's crystal.
It's locked on and good to go. So
and it's not variable. That's one thing I realized at the beginning when they announced it. I was wondering because they didn't really specify too much. I felt like, is it variable? Are they going to be doing what what Samsung does, where it's like down to 1 hertz and going all the way? No, it's literally 120 or 60, and you're locked into that mode. And the UI elements, because I was testing it with Gamebench just to see how the frame rates were holding up, and nope, seriously, everything was running.
Yeah.
Smooth, buttery smooth, fluid, and it feels different. That's the weird thing. Like when I'm holding it and I'm using the Xperia 1 Mark II, I see the difference. Like it's a very noticeable jump because you're going from 60 to 120, not 90 to 120. So a lot of times people will upgrade from like a 90 to 120, and they're like, I don't really notice a big difference. Well, because 60 to 90 is a much bigger jump than it is a 90 to 120 from a kind of like a jarring effect of how you notice the difference in the motion blur, how smooth the animation is going, and how fast you're able to scroll without getting that tearing. That the images don't necessarily pixelate faster. That's maybe a better way to say that.
Right. It's ridiculous. We're getting to have these conversations about phone screens.
Yeah.
I mean, that's ridiculous. And we're now at a pixel pitch, I'm repeating myself from my video, but we're at a pixel pitch now where there's not really anywhere left to go. The
display-wise,
the image resolving capability of the human eye at its minimum focusing distance if you have better than 20/20 vision, is pretty close to the resolution on this display. And so now I kind of feel like we're good. We're done.
So
you want a premium,
go home,
a premium expensive. Yeah. But, I mean, like, yes.
No.
But if you want an expensive phone, we shouldn't be having these quibbles with like, well, is 1080p good enough on a phone that starts at $999? Like, no, don't do that. I mean, at least try and land some quad HD action, but you could just go to the max. This is the maximum. It really will not get better for the human eye's ability to discern individual pixels in any viewing condition. Probably even if you're using some kind of magnification, like say you've got really strong bifocals and you're trying to blow up that image, you're probably not going to be able to beat the screen. And then density, you go and take it to this ridiculous, just like over the top version of a high refresh rate motion blur reduction mode. I mean, again, it's disappointing how many pieces of commentary I've seen on the phone that glaze over these things because iPhones and Galaxies don't have them. You know, again, you can always, well, it's not on an iPhone, it must not be worth it, it's a gimmick. But it has been really interesting seeing, you know, like some of the early reactions on the Sony Xperia subreddit, people really excited to get their pre-orders in. I didn't spend a lot of time on our Android, but what little time I was scouting through, like the reactions seemed pretty positive. Like Sony is kind of in an underdog position, and people are, I think, tired of techies punching down on smaller brands.
But not only because when you're upselling something that compromises, this is the weird situation where we're getting served left and right compromises, experiences that are more expensive, but yet less featureful than what they were before. So when you lose things on a smartphone as opposed to gain things every year, but yet you're expected to pay more for it. We lost the SD card, and now we're expected to pay more to get more storage so we can compensate for the feature that the company took away from us in the first place.
Aren't you so excited that Apple invented lossless audio finally?
I was actually very happy.
Because there's no way to listen to it on an iPhone.
No, it didn't. It did not exist, Juan. It did not exist.
No, now that Apple has invented it, they have invented something so technologically advanced that their phones cannot use it.
Or their headphones. This is even worse.
That's how amazing Apple R&D is. That's how inventive they are. They invented something that their own products can't even use.
And you have to get the new headphones that they're going to be selling for you to be able to start appreciating some of that tech.
Could Jesus microwave a burrito so hot that he himself could not eat it? That's Apple.
That's Apple. That's one way to shoot yourself in the foot on that one. El Jefe's falling on the floor. He's like, "Stop it!
Oh no!
Apple invented audio. Yes, Apple."
It kind of feels like that Simpsons joke. It's like, "Stop it! Stop! He's down already.
He's on the floor. He can't take it anymore." Oh man! No, it is. It is very. It's refreshing. This is the thing about it when you get a Sony, and I realize I'm not trying to say there's a hype around. It is true. Sony started with the Xperia 1, and I think the Xperia 1 was to start with a very capable, a very groundbreaking device, 4K panel on a smartphone that it had its challenges. I'm not going to say it was a perfect device, but it was a great start. Bring in Mark II at the dramatic one. I don't know how to explain it, but it just went in a separate direction. Fixes all the problems of the first one. Brings in better features, 4K with the upscaling on it, but the headphone jack, bringing back features. This is the weird thing, bringing back features that used to exist. Wireless charging, the 21:9 aspect ratio with a much more sleek design, more, sharper edges, not necessarily more rounded like the one. And then a year later, they do it again. They bring in even more awesomeness to the display. As you can say, they're basically reaching the pinnacle of what they're able to provide us on a display right now, and something that we can appreciate at that level. But then they did something else also with the camera system. That's something that we haven't seen either also from any manufacturer, giving us two separate independent focal lengths on a telephoto lens using movable lenses.
Yeah, so I appreciate what they're doing there, and I think optically they're on the right track. This is an area where I feel like if they can't polish up the software, I would expect that this is an improvement for next year.
Like step
Sony,
1 for step 2 next year.
Well, so the actual focal length, image quality is great, but I feel like this is one area where Sony's authenticity for camera hardware is just a step behind the consumery aspect of telephoto pixel binning and image cropping. If you go to the actual physical focal lengths, image quality is great. It is very good.
Yeah, without trying to change it from one.
But
they're
Sony
basically the zoom rings. Yeah.
But Sony doesn't play that trick with cropping and then blowing up an image and then adding a ton of resolution that wasn't really there. So their algorithms for expanding an image or trying to bring back detail, I would say is probably even a step behind a OnePlus. So when you go to a OnePlus 9 Pro and you go to the farthest end of the digital crop zoom from that tiny little telephoto sensor, I think you still end up with a slightly better telephoto image than if you try to go to the max zoom on the Xperia 1 Mark III. If you match the image to the actual focal length, so if I only zoom in on the OnePlus 9 Pro to match the focal length of the far end of the optical zoom on the Sony wins.
Like the 107,
yeah, the 105. So if I go beyond that, though, the OnePlus AI enhanced image processing, blah, 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 blah. And then also, I feel like a lot of people might feel a bit disappointed if they try to use the telephoto in poor light, because Sony will not do
low light
the trick of switching you to your main sensor. If you flip to the telephoto, Sony's going to say, you know what you're doing, as opposed to an iPhone where the iPhone will flip you back, sneakily switch you back to the main sensor and then crop that image.
Night mode. It is called night mode. Just learn the terms, Juan. It's called night mode.
Filmic had to pull support for the iPhone telephoto because Apple would not give up the control of what actually creates the better image. And everyone gets all hyped up about having 3 sensors on the back of their... You need 3 sensors. I mean, look at the LG V60. What a fail. It didn't have a telephoto sensor. That's not what you're using. You don't use the telephoto if it gets into poor light. Yeah, the iPhone moves you back to the main sensor and just crops back in. So that is another thing. Like, I was taking a shot with the Xperia 1 Mark III and I was in my living room and it was kind of dark. It was just like that dusk light. You know, we just kind of had some light coming in from one window, and these photos look not great. And I'm like, oh, it's really using the telephoto sensor. I'm used to the phone like just thinking for me and switching back. It is kind of crazy.
I think, well, we saw that too last time when you were doing the blind image test. Remember last year when you were doing that with the Xperia and the Pixel? And I think a lot of people weren't able to pick up on it. I mean, I think that's, I take that back. A lot of people were able to pick out which one was the Pixel, but I realized, I think
almost no one did. Yeah, almost no one got that lineup right.
Yeah, it is definitely something that they need to work on. So I'm not saying that's obviously the best camera, but the improvements have been, I think for me at least this year, the simplicity of the camera app at least, although technically still present in 3 different apps, in one of them being, because they left the 3 icons, right? Even though it's 2 apps, they left the icon for the default one because that's how you get into basic. But I like the fact that we have a more unison UI element. You can jump from basic to Camera Pro by literally just hitting the basic and switching modes, as opposed to having to close the app and going out and opening another app. Cinema Pro, of course, has all of the bells and whistles that we had before, which is definitely very nice. 4K 120. I had the opportunity to take the Mark III with me to Magic Mountain a couple of weeks. Well, the first time I had it with me, where there's a lot of colors, so my camera review may have a lot of samples from Magic Mountain from a very hot day and a very sunny day. But trying to take video of roller coasters zooming by you at 4K 120. That's the way to do it. You want that quality, you want that crisp images,
and again, like, well, Samsung cameras are obviously superior, and you're like, not if you like shooting amazing slow motion.
It is. It's crazy good.
In which case, it's OnePlus and Sony rocking my socks with 4K 120. Yeah, it's not even close. You know, I went back and you know, I was looking through on the S21, and you're shooting like 240 frame per second, 1080p at stupid low bit rates, and the phone is screaming hot. It's like uncomfortable to hold. It's running so hot. I'm in bright daylight. It's like 75 or 80 degrees out. And it was a warm.
We had some hot days coming up.
We had a few. I mean, it wasn't as hot as we're for the summer, but it was warm. And again, this is not great shooting conditions. The screen is cranking super bright. The chipset's running as hard as it can. I had a SIM card in there. Everything's cooking on this phone. And you get the footage, and it's kind of just pixelated garbage. Slow motion is not a novelty anymore when the image fidelity is so low. And then I'm just like, I point a Sony at some what is, I mean, the little purple flowers, I forget what it's not lilac, I forget what grows out here naturally, but bees are flying around in 4K, and I can do a 1/4 slow-mo like cake. Like, you can even stretch it to a 1/5 slow-mo if you do 24 if you finish your project in 24p. You can kind of fudge it a little bit, and the image is stunning.
I mean, focusing on it is ridiculous.
And with it's bees. You know, like, the phone is doing all the work for me, tracking some bees, so I don't even need to worry about that. Again, you have to be a real lazy techie tryhard to not appreciate just how ridiculous it is that a phone is spitting out that kind of image, that kind of video. And again, it's super frustrating because it's someone with like YouTube channel with 2 extra zeros at the end of their subscriber count than what I have. But I'm glad to see that there does seem to have been some pushback. You know, before Western reviewers got their hands on this phone, we saw a lot of those early, you know, first impressions videos, camera deep dives. Like the day before our embargo was up, did you see that teardown? Like, someone did a full component teardown of the One Mark III. I'm like, I can't even get my first impressions out, and people are already demolishing the phone. Great.
Even Jerry Rig got out done.
But you know, the narrative was already crafted. The phone is selling like gangbusters in China. I think the first batch is already sold out in Japan. We're waiting on a first batch to hit in August, and something tells me that the small quantity that they're going to send to the United States is going to evaporate. This is a phone that is not going to lose value like a Samsung.
No,
it's going to retain value really well. You've got to be kind of not good at tech to walk away from that experience and go, it's just not good enough. You should like save a couple $100 and just get like a Galaxy and be less satisfied with the phone.
Because the Galaxy is cheaper. But if you compare the Xperia 1 Mark III to the original price of the Galaxy S21 Ultra with 256 gigs of internal storage, because that was the one you had to pay for, you'd be right there in the same game. So the reality is, you know, Samsung had to lower their prices because they realized people weren't buying into it, and now it's just like it's a catch-up game, kind of like, you know, why keep pushing the same narrative where just to feed an SEO? Just to feed an SEO? This is purely marketing kind of a thing.
Yeah, it's all for their benefit in YouTube viewership, that they know their biggest chunks of audience are coming from Apple and Samsung fans. So you sit there and you act like the phone is so prohibitively expensive because you can always move the goalposts.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, an iPhone 12 Pro starts at $999.
Exactly.
So I mean, iPhone, you can get an iPhone for $1,000. Why would you spend $1,300 on this Xperia 1 Mark III? But you're not comparing phones with similar camera sensors. You're not comparing phones with
you're comparing
similar
just the price
storage.
Exactly.
All you're doing is starting at a base model iPhone 12 Pro, which has one of those smaller camera sensors, not
similar
one of
sensors,
the larger camera sensors. Again, it's this lazy, convenient way to move the goalposts around in a way that I feel really, again, it's for their short-term benefit, but in the long term, it does a huge disservice to the techie community, because increasingly that's what's going to turn off a lot of enthusiast consumers. Someone who has eyes on an Xperia is shopping specifically. They
know what they're getting.
Accidentally land on an Xperia.
Well, I mean, but the other thing that I noticed, okay, so this year we get 2 colors, right? We finally get a selection of colors as opposed to one color. I'm not knocking it. I love the fact, but I think we've been lacking a variety of custom, especially some of their really good colors. So purple is finally coming. So Glacier Purple is coming to the US. Exclusive though to Sony's website. So here's the thing. So you're going to be able to find the Xperia 1 Mark III at other retailers, but and I'm assuming Amazon at some point. I don't know if it is there yet, but at least for now,
a pre-order page on Amazon, but I don't know that you can get the other color.
No. So that's what I found out is the purple one is purely a Sony website exclusive, which is, I think it's a smart way to do it, because they realize that a lot of people would want that color. It's a very unique, it's done really good. I love the Glacier, the frosty look that they gave us on the phone. Nothing against the mirror finish that we had last year for taking those beautiful selfies.
Better, though. Just better. Frosted is, I mean, like, you know what? Same thing. Yeah, I've got my TCL 20 Pro here. I can pretend it's kind of, Xperia adjacent, because this is better. This is nicer.
Yes, and it also makes it so that I don't have to keep wiping my phone every 2 seconds. There's a reason why I have a case on the Xperia 1 Mark II. But yeah, no, I like the aesthetics of what they've done with the frosted look, and of course the purple is going to be coming. But it's they did the other combination. They always do this, right? They always give you, if you just factor the money though from the pre-order side, you're getting the XM3s. So they didn't go with the XM4s. I was really hoping for the XM4s. We got the XM3s, which is still a good pair of earbuds. And then they also go with 43,000, not 4,300, 43,000 CP points inside of Call of Duty Mobile. So if you're a fan and you love to play Call of Duty and you wanted to just go all out, the amount of credit that you're getting out of this value-wise is more than 50% of the value of the phone. That's how crazy we're talking about the free stuff that you're getting for pre-ordering it. So the reality is, at the end of the day, they're really sweetening the spot. Now, some may say, well, like, why do you want to get the XM3s and so on? Because you want to appreciate the music, you want to appreciate what you're getting, and you want to appreciate what you're using. There's a big collaboration with Call of Duty, and I think that was my biggest thing that I felt bad with the initial time that I spent with it. I wasn't able to experience it to its fullest. And I talked to our contact, and I said, hey, is there something that I'm missing? Is there a feature, a button that I forgot to click or something? Because I'm getting 60 FPS on this game, and I know it should be doing more. Like OnePlus does 90, and OnePlus does, so, and they didn't have any answers, and sure enough, it was a optimization. It was so early on the timing, it wasn't available anywhere, that Call of Duty just didn't know to turn it on. So now that it's out in China, they turned it on, and sure enough, so I was very, very much surprised to the smoothness, the graphics, the touch response. The response is so on point. It's crazy. And even though it does warm up a little bit, so that is still there, and I kind of cover it in the video, there's no question that the 888 is a little bit it's a warm processor. There's not much we can do about it.
So I mean, like I was doing my Undead Horde stress test, and the phone was hot.
Oh yeah. No, I got close to almost 120.
So there's kind of no way around it when it comes to
thermals.
This year's chipset, this year's thermals are going to be very difficult to control. Although
this is my solution. I found it. Get your hands off the phone, Juan. You're holding the phone the wrong way. Just get your controller.
What do you mean? Hold on. Back over here.
This is how you're supposed to use it, man.
No, it's not.
Basically,
now I know who the real Sony fan is, because
yeah, that's the
this is how you're supposed to. This is how
DualShock
we do
4.
it. This is how we do it. I've got a Sony controller laying around.
Oh my god, yeah, no, I'm with you. Yeah, the DualShock controller obviously is the way to go for the win. What I meant to say, obviously, is the spirit of what I was trying to say is alive here. Is I feel like controllers is the reality, the best way to play games when you're playing, especially games for an extended amount of time. Temperatures will get warm, but you understand that the reason why the temperatures are going up is because the phone is dissipating the heat. So the thing that you want to look for when you get a phone that does warm up a little bit is how does it perform for an extended amount of time when the thermals are a little bit up. And honestly, for like 30, 40, like my PUBG sessions typically go for about 30 to 40 minutes. Generally, that's how long my matches in PUBG go. Call of Duty, not so much. Call of Duty is more like get in, get out kind of thing. They're usually about 5-6 minutes. So you're playing multiple sessions, and then there's always kind of like I would say basically a full load on the system, and then a release a little bit when you're playing with the game and basically waiting to go into the next match. Where PUBG, you're consistently in the game, you're jumping, you're moving. There's a lot of elements moving on.
So what I got to say, though, is that I feel like Sony is handling this just a little bit more gracefully than Samsung or Xiaomi. Well, and also not as deliberately as OnePlus. So for games that activate, it goes into 120 hertz and it does it very effectively. And especially like a better optimized, lower power game. I love Dead Cells. I'll run a couple maps on Dead Cells and just jam on that. Like that's one of my favorite. I got 5 minutes. I can jump around and whip some stuff for a bit, and that's cool. And I'm satisfied with that. When I did my run on Undead Horde, there is no GPU limiter like on the OnePlus. OnePlus hard caps at 60.
Oh, 60. Yeah, cool.
It's like it's very specific about what games are whitelisted to go above 60 hertz. And so, I mean, almost every single game I play, hard limit. I mean, just like it locks it in at 60. And I feel it does that because whenever it spikes higher, GPU runs hotter, and then it's going to thermal throttle, and then you get those swings. And that's what Samsung and Xiaomi do. Samsung and Xiaomi let the GPUs go. And so for moments in Undead Horde, I'm getting this incredible like 90 frames per second. And then a couple seconds later, it craters and becomes a slideshow at like 15 to 20. And so at some point, the Xperia 1 Mark III figured that out, though. Because, like I said, there is no OnePlus style GPU limiter.
No,
it's way more adaptable. And so I'm playing Undead Horde, and at some point, and I want to say it was about 5 minutes into gameplay, I can see some big spikes. Like I started getting like 80 frames per second, then it would kind of drop. I'd put a whole bunch of units on the screen. It would like spike up, then drop. It never really fell below 40, and then it just kind of found 55. I mean, it was like the speed limit, and then it just hung there, and it just stayed. I mean, like the graph still shows some spikes for when you're in dialogue sequences and when you're doing unit selection. That obviously messes with the frame rate. But actual gameplay was like buttery smooth after about 5 minutes of the phone trying to figure that out. I don't know that the phone is really that smart, or if it just kind of found some homogeneous thermal zone where the phone kind of just kept the pedal pegged at 55.
It realized that it was capable of providing that 55 without necessarily pushing it too high where it dipped down, or letting it run too cool and it get it basically all the way up. So it's a normalize. It could also be normalizing the actual frame rate. But I think for me with Call of Duty, or at least with PUBG, I was able to get as consistent, I mean, within a variable +1, maybe +2 frames, 60 frames per second solid on PUBG. And I'm talking about best resolution on everything. I'm not talking low end. So with Call of Duty, to get the 120, you do need to drop the resolution. That's the one thing that I felt like where typically what we get with gamers is you drop the 1080, you get the higher refresh rate. Now, this isn't dropping the resolution of the display. It's not dropping the responsiveness. It's just the quality, the resolution of the graphics and the outer fields and so on. So to get faster refresh rate, they're basically saying, look, we're going to drop a little bit the resolution, go down to medium, not to low. But if you want to go run it on regular, like full everything, you're still getting a really decent 60 frames per second experience on Call of Duty, which I felt like was still very capable. I knew they could do more, but it's the consistency of the frame rate for an extended amount of time without getting a dip. That's what I appreciate about it. And I looked at the graphs when I started looking at the medium and how the graphs were doing. It did get hot, but it was still able. And but it was able to maintain the performance. I wasn't getting to the point where I felt like it was a choppy experience where I had to stop.
And again, so I still feel, I said this in my video, battery longevity. If you're using HS power control, I feel the current power profile. Because again, it's got a balance. Like, how much are we going to charge the battery to keep the battery kind of hovering? Yeah. So let's say your battery was at 70%. You plug it in, you start playing a game. Ideally, HS power control should keep you floating around 70%. On the One Mark II, most of my games, it would kind of trickle charge up for longer.
Very little. Yeah, it was minor, but it was much slower than usual.
What for most of my games on the One Mark III, it would trickle deplete. So if I had been running off the battery, the phone would have drained much, much faster. While I was plugged in, it was still draining, just much, much slower. Yeah. So I feel like, so what I'm talking about an experience from, middle of May. And I'm sure that once consumers really start getting their hands on the phone, the software they're going to be using is not going to be what I was using.
No. And I can say that even with just getting it now at the end of June, it's already a bit
already
you
different.
Could see some of the, definitely. Yeah. You could see some of the optimizations, and I think the units, even back in May, they were getting updates, and there was initially a delay getting them to us because they were trying to make sure they had a certain specific version of the software. So
and especially so some of the bigger YouTubers got more recent software than we did for our first round. We do have a question here in the chat. Jeff is asking your thoughts on a controller for COD Mobile. I don't really play COD Mobile, but my first recommendation is always the Steel series, the Duo.
The Duo.
I've got it over here. Hold on.
Yeah, no. So Kishi doesn't have a profile directly for Call of Duty. You'd need to map it on your own. And I think the reality, I personally, so it depends on the function. Yes. So from a standard controller, I feel like the standard joystick or the standard Xbox style, DualShock style controllers will always be better. I like Kishi because of the simplicity of how it just fits, right? Like the form factor is a little bit more portable, but Juan already sold us on. He's already moved on that one.
I'm winning the game right now. So the only thing I have an issue with the side attachment is that I game with headphones.
So that's the thing. Yes, headphones is you lose the headphones and you don't have a way of.
Tells me Jeff might have some nice headphones he might want to use. I'm just saying.
I don't know. Jeff, does he do headphones? Does he?
I don't know. I mean, he seems like the kind of guy who you would maybe want to chat. Like, I don't know.
What do you think of these headphones?
Plugs in some headphones, you know.
No, I definitely yes. So that would be my only thing about it. And you cannot use USB-C headphones to be able to at the same time as you're trying to charge them, because it does have a USB-C port. But yes, it blocks any kind of functional option of using.
It's not data pass through. It's just power pass through.
It's power pass through purely just for, and it's not fast charging. So, what I would probably say is it depends on what you're trying to do. But the reality at the end of the day, it's controllers are always functional, especially with devices. And I say this with devices that are not 29:9 aspect ratio. I mean, not everybody. We're seeing this obviously big shifts toward it, but for devices. When you're playing with a phone and your hands are blocking a good portion of the right and left side of the display, and all you're getting is that middle area, you truly appreciate a 21:9 aspect ratio phone in that, because you see that
it's so much easier to play
because it's so much wider. Your fingers are not in the middle of your shot. Your enemy can't run behind your thumb. Sorry, I'm pulling on this hard. I'm not used to playing with it. It's so hot in the house right now. I'm trying to cool it down, but I can't use the over the head.
Now, are you pulling your audio? Because I think what I'm hearing is the beard scratch on the mic on that headset.
Oh, wait. Do you think this is pulling audio from this? No way.
Yeah, you just touched it. Your audio has been from the headset mic. I knew it. I sent you a private chat like
Hold on.
20 minutes ago.
Do I still sound the same?
I mean, you still sound fine. It sounds fine, but I've been hearing.
It's the ASMR session, my friend. Hold on a second. Let's fix this mother.
I called it.
Oh, crap. Okay, see, this is what happened when I changed my thing. Default. Yes.
No worries,
Dang
man.
it.
I mean, considering my goof at the beginning of our podcast, I feel that one was way more minor.
Let's go back to the standard.
Oh, there's the TK dulcet tones that I know and love. So the only reason why I front.
Sorry, I missed that message. Sorry.
No worries. The only reason, one of the main reasons why I front SteelSeries, I am a snob for being able to like plug in cables and headphones and stuff.
Yeah.
But that this also has a dedicated USB puck for PCs.
So that's right. Yes, you can plug it into the PC.
Wireless connection. You can do Bluetooth. Obviously, you're probably not going to want to use Bluetooth if you can help it. But you can
depends
go
on the game. Mario style type of game, slower paced games
can be kind of fun, but you can either go cabled, you can go Bluetooth, or you can go with the dedicated it's a 2.4 gig wireless adapter. So I like flipping this back and forth between my mobile devices, and then I also hook this up to the PC that's behind my TV. So if I want to play something kind of
your Nook,
I throw it to my Nook. Yeah.
No, I like the style. Like I said, controllers are always a plus. If I can help it, I always love to have a keyboard and mouse, even on like Xbox or PlayStation, or even on the Switch. Like GameSir makes a great keyboard and mouse attachment that you're able to use as a controller for the Switch, even the Xbox and the PlayStation 3, or it's PlayStation 4. I don't know if it works with the PlayStation 5 yet. I got to test that part out. But I know we kind of extended it into the GameSir makes really good controllers as well. I've used them for quite some time. The other thing I realized, one of the other videos that you posted this week, now you beat me to this because I didn't get a chance to put it out. I was scrambling with the Xperia, the Pixel Buds A, which I wanted to kind of push out this week as well, because I felt like, it's such an easy recommendation for me. Like if I have to recommend a pair of headphones, it's so easy to recommend. It's so simple. Like if you try them, you will love them. It's one of those recommendations. May not be the best earbuds that you can find on the market right now, but I feel like the combination of sound quality, integration with the assistant, sub 100 or about $100 at a price point, makes them very hard not to recommend, and to make sure that you can enjoy them. And seriously, dude, the connectivity is so much better. So much better. I walked all the way to the other side of the house. I left the phone here, went all the way to the front upstairs, and I was still connected.
Yeah,
it was just
when they said that they improved not just the connectivity between the buds, but the actual range, like the transmission power. Like that actually was tangible. Like there have been so many times where Bluetooth companies are like, you can get like 40 feet out of them versus 30 feet. And like functionally, I can't really tell the difference. It's Bluetooth. I can go downstairs maybe, and they start to cut out. Cool.
Yeah.
I can go my whole house.
Yeah.
Like upstairs, downstairs, kitchen. Like it's bad because like I end up leaving my phone in weird places. And like I know it's around here somewhere. I can still hear the audio. But it really is improved. I still do feel, and this isn't like the deal breaker. Oh my gosh, this is such a critical concern. But I was not prepared for the tuning. The tuning is me tuning. I really think a lot of people are gonna feel like that's a little light or a little hollow or not as satisfying. The bass bump helps. The bass EQ definitely helps, but I am a little concerned. I actually think they might have gone just a touch too lean with the out of the box tuning. And what I'd love for them to do is give us just maybe like a quartet of profiles. Start with something just a little juicier. Don't go full smiley face or deep V. Don't do that to me. But give me a little bit of a lift, like halfway on their bass boost tune. I'd love to see them give me like a quartet of profiles, and then leave the option for me to go this light bright that they've got, because I love it. I really do enjoy it. But I think it could be a turnoff on a lot of people's first listens, first impressions.
Yeah, no, for sure. And before we go too far, I do want to make sure to hit up Michael Peppertek's question on the 120 hertz.
Yeah, for sure.
So he's asking here a quick question: does the 120 hertz throttle down like the LTPO does for lower refresh rates, content to save on battery? To my understanding, or at least in my experience, the way I've seen it right now, it does not. There's no. It's not variable. It's locked. So you're either 60 or 120. So it doesn't try to save battery. Now, you're able to turn on the 120 in gaming experiences without having to turn it on for the system wide. So that's something you can turn on. So you can keep it at 60, but turn it on to 120 inside of the game, because you go in there and customize the profile based on each game the way you want to play. So in the I think it's like under the gaming experience, I think you can go custom, and you can set the touch response, the refresh rate, as well as the experience down even. They even added now 120 hertz refresh, 120 hertz screen recording to support the 120 hertz refresh rate on the display. Like, this has been driving me crazy with other phones when I try to record them, because they cap themselves to 60.
Yeah. But I think a part of this is whatever adaptive screen tech some of these other companies might be using, I think actually contributes to some of the choppier experiences we're having before developers, manufacturers, and Android are all on the same page. Like, especially Black Shark. The more I kind of get away from Black Shark 4, Snapdragon 870, what is that, 144 hertz, or is it 120 hertz? I can't remember.
I think it's 144.
It might have been 144. But so many games cratered and like slideshow and like, this is hardware that should have been more than capable of playing that. And I think a part of it is it's a slightly older game. Because I have a lot of legacy titles that I love to revisit on Android phone. But a slightly older game, the game is putting out whatever the frame rate is. The phone is adapting to that. Then as the phone is adapting to the main game frame rate, obviously you're going to have some peaks and valleys and some dips and some chugs, and you're going to drop out from time to time. And as the adaptive screen rate is reacting to the change in the game's real frame rate, I don't think it's seamless. It's not like NVIDIA G-Sync. It's not smart enough yet to, it always feels like it's reacting. It always feels like it's a step behind what the real
frame
rate is at that resolution. And so I feel like we need another generation on that. So with Sony's implementation, again, this is Sony. Sony knows better than anyone. They're literally like, I still feel like they're charmingly the most elitist gadget manufacturer on the planet. They will always know better about their products than you will. But for them, if you're going to put out 4K 120, you put out 4K 120.
Yeah,
that you can have, any screen resolution and frame rate you want, so long as you want 4K 120, and that's it. That's all you're going to get.
But that's the thing, though. It's like, what? So, okay, a 4K panel on a smartphone. This is the third generation, and we still don't have another competitor that's even trying to play the game as Sony is, right? Everybody at best is hitting a QHD 120 hertz refresh rate right now.
Which not to talk too much trash. The screen with all the eye candy on a OnePlus 9 Pro, that's a pretty screen. It is really nice.
I would say it's for the lack of a better description, I say the exact same thing on the Find X3 Pro, my friend. It's the screen with all the candy on, because it's the same panel, but
it's real pretty.
Did I tell you that I installed a glass protector on my OnePlus 9 Pro, and 2 seconds later I installed the second one on the FX3 Pro? It's the exact same size, they fit in the same mold and everything. So it was, I know it's the same panel. I was like, I sent back a message to the company. I'm like, dude, just for heads up, thank you for the OnePlus 9 Pro glass. It also works on the Find X3 Pro. If you want to just put a sticker on and say supports Find X3, you got a double product. It is beautiful. No, OnePlus and Oppo did a very big jump forward, and we saw some of it last year with the 8 Pro as well, with the QHD 120 hertz. So this is the true, when we're not talking 4K, I felt like that's the like the Mount Everest that I think a lot of people were trying to give you that same experience, but they either have to compromise with variable refresh rate, or you just get either one or the other. You get 1080 120, or you get QHD 60, so you can't get both. But no, Oppo and OnePlus has been doing it great. I love the display. This is the Find X3 Pro for me is a phone that I use on the daily. It still is a phone that I carry with me. But that's 90% of it is because of the quality of the display. But it does, when you put that against a 4K 120 or even a 4K 60 from the Mark II, you truly appreciate the clarity. You truly appreciate the form factor and the work.
Yeah,
the white balancing.
I'm not expecting someone just on a glance, because again, this is proven to be one of, again, this is like one of the nerd specs.
Yeah, no,
ever since we started, ever since we started getting high refresh rate displays, I'd show them to my family, and no one really sees what I'm talking about. A brief interaction, a first impression. I'm like my sister. She was coming from like an old Motorola, and she got a Pixel 3a, and I'm showing her like, oh, you got to check this out. Like, look at this OnePlus, and oh, look at these phones, 90 hertz, and look at this Razer phone too, 120 hertz on the screen, and like, it doesn't look much different to her. And then I would do something like, you pull out a dual screen phone, like for a Thanksgiving, I had the LG G8X. Well, immediately you see that something's different with that phone. So again, I am now starting to weight a refresh rate a little lower in my list of priorities. I really feel like the disparity between developers, manufacturers, and Android not getting on the same page. Because like when the Razer Phone 2 came out, I was hardcore. This is going to be a gaming-centric feature. Games are going to start supporting this, and it's going to be like a revolution like we saw with higher frame rate gameplay on PCs and consoles. This is going to be the thing. But really now, today, the only thing you can count on from all of these other phones, looking at the entire landscape, is your app drawer will be prettier. And that's about it.
It's going to load faster, baby. Exactly.
It's so smooth when I open this drawer, and I don't care about that. But I can't.
The Twitter bird doesn't fly. It actually moves the right way.
but I can't count on every game that I play that I know should be able to support a faster frame rate. Works on some phones, won't work on others. There is no across the board certification that we need.
No, there isn't. It's up to the app developer, and it's on your own kind of like, which devices do you want to whitelist, which ones do you want to test, which ones do you have access to be able to use, what partnerships are done with what companies, and where are you getting the exclusives and so on. It's a story as old as time, and I'm not trying to mimic the Disney such situation, but Honor used to do the exact same thing. Their Fortnite collaborations in there as well. We saw, I think Samsung also used to have collaborations with Fortnite with unique skins and experiences. I think OnePlus, if I'm not mistaken, was one of the first devices to support 90 frames per second on Fortnite. That was also a collaboration and exclusive for a certain amount of time. It hurts the experience for us because a good number of time whenever we're reviewing a smartphone, it's a phone that hasn't been released. And exactly, the Xperia Mark 1, Mark 3 did the same thing for me. I was, at the time we were using it, we were testing it out. It was before the China launch, so even the public didn't even have access to this phone. But we needed to make an opinion on a phone with such a short amount of time to use it, and I felt like this is why I was so great appreciative actually that I was able to get a second turn with it. And luckily, it just literally by star alignments, it happened on the same time. But it drove me to be about a couple of hours late this morning. Juan was hitting me up. He's like, TK, you're going to post that video today? And I said, I'm trying. And then I finished
embargoes
rendering.
Are always a major pain.
And of course, Murphy's Law is always there. If things are going to go wrong, they will go wrong the moment you need to depend on them. So I had to render, and I'm having problems with my PC's rendering process, which if Juan wins this argument, I will be on DaVinci Resolve very quickly because I was surprised.
I'm telling you, man, Premiere will get there, but you have the new GPU now.
Absolutely. And actually, I may just end up biting the bullet. I think I may end up getting the Resolve license with that controller option that seems to be given for free.
Let me know how you. So I got to use that at again. I'm just not used to hardware decks like that. Like I stopped using control surfaces back in the day. I'm
suffering the same thing you do when I have headphones in my ears. I'm like moving away. I'm like.
I kind of stopped using control surfaces for audio recording about 10 years ago.
Can you see this one, the Shuffle Pro?
Yeah.
Okay, so I gotta put my hairs back. I can't hear you. It's such an old, like, we're getting old. You see that thing back there? It's good, but put my ears back in.
So tell me about how you use a jog dial.
Oh my God, it's the best thing ever. It was a recommendation from Jordan Keys. I don't know if you remember Jordan back in the old days from XDA. Oh, yeah. So as I was editing videos and so on, I mean, I'm a big keyboard shortcut guy, so I know all the shortcuts for Premiere, but it gets a little bit of travel, right? Like you're like video key in, like seriously, I'm doing Naruto jujitsu kind of thing at the end. I'm exporting a file at the end. So using a controller like this, especially like the Shuffle, and it does actually work with DaVinci. It just doesn't. I haven't had a chance to test it out. It seriously becomes first muscle memory. So for me, the mapping of the button, and I can edit videos without a keyboard, just mouse and the Shuffle, and it improves my speed. Like the jog dial is mostly for precise cuts if you're trying to just find exactly where you want to do that jump cut, but 90% of the time is more about jumping positions, cutting, pasting. I think it's called the blend cut, which you're able to basically cut to where you're moving the cut point in between two different frames, which I love those editing tools. Syncing, just doing, delinking an audio from video, so on. All those little jumps that you can do, and you can customize them.
If you decide to do that with Resolve, I'd definitely be down to.
Well, it's free, which I was surprised. Yeah, I went on B&H because I was looking. I was trying to find what's the best price to get on the license, and literally $295 I think is the best. But if you get it from B&H, you get the controller for free, which I'm like, yes, I don't mind. I like having extras, and it seems like it's dedicated for it. I like
that's kind of their business model is like getting they want to get you video editing software, and they're like, oh, well, you could also because I jumped in. Level. I jumped in. I mean, I started with the free version of Resolve, just kind of poking around with it on Resolve 15, and I bought on Resolve 16, and obviously now we've gotten the updates to Resolve 17 and
Studio. Yeah,
they still don't know. I mean, obviously, I don't think any company can ever properly predict, but so far they've never charged. I want to say since Resolve 12. I don't think they've charged for an upgrade, and
I think that's the best business model.
So
I mean, if
compared to where I was on Adobe software licensing,
I know.
I'm gonna be spending like $30 a year on Power Director Mobile. It's really annoying. That really bums me out. But I've switched over to Affinity for editing my RAW files. I'm on Photomate R3, Photomate R4? I can't remember, on Android for editing my RAW files. I still need some, I'm just terrible at motion, like After Effects style editing.
After Effects about my own. Yeah, I need to find a good solution to replace After Effects for me, because I do all of my intro files, all my videos, and for the intro are all After Effects. I create them custom for every video. I don't have anybody else doing it for me. So that was something that the way I did a long time ago. Every video has to have its own custom entry, and otherwise, because I don't mind, I don't have a problem with making one because I used to use it. But I feel like it's kind of like a banner, like a title. So I'm sure there's going to be other options or simpler. Maybe creating the video, and then I create maybe just a transition overlay on it in Resolve. So I'm sure there's a way to going around it. It doesn't necessarily have to be a rendered video every single time. But it's just the sheer night and day performance difference and optimization on bleeding edge hardware right now that I feel like Adobe is still needing to figure out. Like I've been seriously last couple of weeks spending hours upon hours trying to figure out how to get this GPU to perform the way it should be performing, being that it is literally a 3090 in the body of a 30. In like a 20-minute video rendered in 5 minutes, guys.
Yep.
I mean, seriously, like I was, the videos that I was trying to do this morning when Juan was hitting me up. So the first video I was at, the 17-minute video that was the English one. I was rendering the video and I was watching, as I was talking with Juan, I was watching the preview window and I noticed that one of my overlay clips that I put in kind of had the green bar on it all the way at the bottom. So the video, like, it looked so bad. So I stopped the render, went back into the video, or actually, no, sorry. I had to let the video finish rendering because it wasn't in the source clip. And then I realized that I was rendering it incorrectly. So I had to replace that entire side, re-render it another 20 minutes or so to get, and it wasn't rendering. The 17-minute clip was taking 20 minutes to finish. That's how bad it is. It seriously becomes slow turtle speed. And I so wished I was in Resolve. I so wished I was able to export
even on my
Resolve.
2080. So if I'm doing a 4K, if I'm doing a 4K 60 frame per second final render at around 80 megabit per second, just so I'm not too far off from what my camera quality is, I'm compressing a little just for the upload time, but not a lot, because YouTube's then going to wreck it anyway.
Oh, absolutely.
One of the problems I have is I still use one of their basic title tools to do my end credits. For the
Patreon. The Patreon side, yeah.
That text tool tanks the final render speed, but even with that, I'm usually, I don't know, I want to say like 35 seconds to the minute. So if it's better than it's longer than in half the time of the video's project length. But usually not much longer than. So if I've got a 6-minute video, it's usually a little longer than 3 minutes to render that all down at ridiculous overkill quality for YouTube.
And what I'm trying to say is that's typically what I'm used to seeing with the 2080, because I came from the 2080.
Yeah.
So when I put in the 3080 and I'm expecting better performance, and then I'm seeing the total opposite of it, like the total like as if I put a 1080 or an 960 in. I don't know what I put in, but because something is in there and I cannot figure out exactly what it is on the optimization. It's not a driver issue, because games recognize the 3080 and they run very nicely at 120 hertz. I'm able to play QHD 120. It's something in Adobe's
something about the way that Adobe is not optimized for that
and
card.
It does it every time, dude. At about 45% process through the video, doesn't matter how long the video is. It goes from 90 load down to 20, 21, and it sits at that for the rest of the video.
And so I'm just saying, if you were to start editing node style rather than After Effects layers style, then you could jump right into Fusion. It would all be in one. You wouldn't have to pay for licensing ever again.
just do it once and get it over with, and we can just move on.
You know, minus a few tools that I would love to have from Photoshop, like I'm good.
And in theory, I can still use After Effects as more of just an independent, though. I can just, it reduces my $350 a year for everything under the sun within the the Creative Cloud library.
The audio processing surprisingly good. The auto syncing is very good.
I haven't tried that yet. I need to try.
Oh man, see again. So I used to do it manually in Vegas. Vegas did not have a plugin.
Power Director. Back in the old days, I used to do it manually too. That was one of the reasons I loved Premiere. The audio sync was so simple. You right click and sync.
And again, you, like I said, not having to mess with a third party plugin, like not having to get a license for Pluralize, get that synced up. So yeah, I pull my audio off of my Rode mic. I do still do a little cleanup old school, just because that's the way I've worked for 20 years. With audio recording. So I do just like a light filter pass and then just a little bit of compression, and then I normalize that volume. Drop it into my video editing timeline, right click, auto sync audio. Do you want to sync it by waveform? Why, yes, Resolve, I do. And it's done, and it's beautiful. Like, it's never failed me.
I like the setup, once you understand the philosophy of how things work, because it's an approach to,
it's super different than Premiere.
It's very
not layers based like Photoshop at all.
Absolutely. And it to me, it was very so what I did is I obviously started Googling some crash courses in DaVinci. So as I starting to learn the little tricks here and there, like how to to be able to cut something, it's not as simple switching you to switch over to the blade tool. I didn't realize it was a blade tool because on Premiere it's the cut tool. So you're like, okay, so it's B, not a C. Okay, get it. You know what I mean? Those little things. But I did, I ran a test with the help of Juan, and like I said, it was a super simple test, but it was a 20-minute render. It wasn't at 4K. It was at 1080p, 30 frames, YouTube.
But you did a 4:1 render at that.
Yeah, it was great. But that's what you should be getting. That's what you should be getting if you were running at 3080 with a 5950.
Okay, we got a couple comments here. David Burns cracking me up. I, for one, am shocked that Adobe doesn't care about optimizing their software.
No, but this is the thing.
That's the whole point of a subscription-based platform, TK, is that you're paying them every year
to take their time to fix it.
to fix the things. So and El Jefe, I still do manual audio sync. Don't do that. Go get DaVinci Resolve for free. And you
can actually, so the only reason you would want to go to Studio, just for GPU references, compute. It's GPU compute or GPU render. If you don't, it's going to be heavily reliant on your CPU, which wasn't really a bad. I'll say this: it wasn't bad. The 5950 can actually hang. Surprisingly, the 5950 can actually hang rendering, but your whole system's slow.
Good. Again, I'm still dealing with slower individual core speeds. So I mean, like, it'd be fine, but it's so much faster. I've never used anything that uses my GPU like DaVinci Resolve. It's insane.
When I first went to GPU rendering, I appreciated that, just the sheer factor that my system didn't become slow down to a non-usable piece of hardware. The ability of basically using your system at the same time as you're rendering is a very functional thing, especially because if you're editing, it's not you for editing, but if you're like setting up all the tags, the customization, the text, all of the different things that you want to do on the YouTube side, before, if you weren't, the system would just be too slow. It wouldn't even be functional. So I tested it out with the GPU, and I did test it out without the GPU. I'm appreciative of it more, and at least it helps me make the case for creatives why you would want to be on a 3080 Ti over, let's say, a 1080 or a 2080. What's the drive to get you there? But I also want to kind of do a comparison. Now that we're starting to somewhat see pricing on availability on the 3060s to start coming up, I may want to pick up one of the 3060s and do like a budget version of a production machine. Like if you're just starting on YouTube, you don't want to spend too much money, but you want to get the benefit of the GPU render. How does a 3060 handle, go in with like in a DaVinci? So for sure, the DaVinci will be on my buy list. Like I said, I was trying to find whatever option to see if there was a discount, but it looks like it's a solid $295 regardless of where you get it. So it will be $295 and it will be mine. I was going to see if there's anything on the 4th of July, but other than that, I'll get it.
Nah, I mean, like, I think you're going to dig it. I already know you do dig it, but I just I just want to make sure to make the transition over and get all my setup correctly. And like I said, if the controller works as good as people are saying it should be, then I'm going to enjoy it quite a bit, because it seriously becomes like it's more functional than what I get with a shuffle, because there's a lot more. It's not just the jog dial, but there's also button configurations. And I think it's just definitely very functional in that sense. So I'm looking forward to trying it out, and it's free. It's included. So why not? Can't go wrong. I don't do it. I mean, obviously, people have seen my videos. I'm not doing a ton of After Effects style or motion graphic work, but like the little few things that I've had to do, almost every single video, I get real frustrated, and then I look up, oh, DaVinci has like a pretty streamlined way to handle that. And then that changes my whole world. Like the color correction tools, the brightness, the balance.
The color correction. I like that. Actually,
my God, they're so good.
It actually
is so fast dialing that in.
I threw in a 4K 120 clip that I shot from Magic Mountain in there to try to play around and get the color correction done, because I was slightly overexposed. Apparently, I didn't see that I was overexposed on the display when I was setting it up, but color tuning it in and actually getting it to look a lot better than what it was originally, and actually also seeing the was-is kind of scenario it was very nice. So very excited, definitely looking forward to it. It'll be a slow transition. I don't want to just cold turkey jump from one to the other.
Yeah, you will though.
Yeah,
as soon as you start factoring in rendering times, you're like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna learn this faster. It's little things, DK. It's like, so I have like obviously my mouse macros and stuff, so I don't have a control surface, but like my cutting and splicing and all those tools are now on mouse, so I'm not constantly doing like control, like control C to cut. I mean, stuff like that I think is so annoying. But when I started doing the color processing in Resolve, it's like, okay, well, I balanced it for this one clip, but I'd already done a couple edits. Now I've got to sit there and match all the qual. Oh, wait a minute. All I got to do is center click in the mouse and it just copies over all of my color processing settings through all these other things. Oh, that's so much better.
It's like copying and pasting attributes in Premiere, but
yeah. So, but like you hover your mouse and you center click and that was it. And you're like pop, 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 pop. And now I'm caught back up and I've reprocessed all of my color grading across the entire video. I mean, it was like so many of those little things that now are just, I don't believe software is intuitive. I believe like as I get more familiar with Resolve, I get faster and even better at editing than I was on Sony Vegas, which was kind of my last main platform after I kind of walked away from Premiere. But there are some very clever design that is streamlined so much. And then I push render and it goes all the way on my GPU.
Yep, and it stays on the whole time. That's what sold me on this. That told me that it wasn't the GPU, it wasn't the driver from NVIDIA. It purely is an optimization done on Premiere for some reason that it just bonks and it's not optimized for the 3080. That I think it's because it just literally came out less than a month ago, and apparently Adobe is just not there. I don't have access to a 3080 to be able to validate that data, see if it does the same, but I would imagine 3080 is more optimized than 3080 Ti.
But again, I mean, like, it would be silly if Adobe wasn't considering the 3090.
So that's the thing. Except that fact. So here's the big dilemma that I feel like that drove me when I was starting to think, well, what's so special about the 3080 Ti? So the 3080 Ti is closer to the 3090 in performance, minus a certain optimizations and certain hardware. Like I think overall, it's closer to the 3090 than it is to the 3080. But it's the same size and has the same cooler as the 3080, where the 3090 has a bigger cooler. So the temps were the biggest issue. I was able to at one point, I want to say a couple of times where I seriously, let me show you what I mean. And this is going to sound really cheesy. But so a while back when I went to the Qualcomm Tech Summit with XDA, I think a couple of years or so back, they gave out these fans, okay? And this is going to sound cheesy. So I decided, I opened up my case, I turned on this guy, and I'm not going to turn it on now, but it could get pretty loud. So here's like, you can definitely hear it. It's loud.
Oh, that's like a real fan, not just like...
No. Yeah, this is not like, it's a nice little breezy day. No. This thing can blow pretty good. Crap. Anyways. Aditya, just let it go. Just let it go, Aditya.
I don't think you will.
Oh, yeah, crap. Anyways, so what I did is I turned it on and I put it straight under the intake fan on the bottom of the GPU. So it's assisting by pushing more air through it, dropping the core temperature of the GPU, and actually it performed better. I was able to get a much substantial. I was more like about a 50% times. Like it was like a 17-minute video. It rendered it in about 8 to 9 minutes. So I was getting closer to what I thought it should be, and I think that part was actually much better because of the thermals. But that's the concern. The Founders Edition that I have is not a custom cooler. It's obviously the Founders Edition. It's the new setup that we have from NVIDIA. And I think it worked great for the 3080 by itself and the 3090, but that in between, I feel like it needs a little bit of assist. Luckily, the other part that I'm able to do, at least on my case, with the casing and all of the RGB fans that I'm trying to add around there, obviously aesthetics wise, but it's also to be able to push a lot of air. I've stationed 2 fans under the GPU to the bottom of the case to sync, kind of unison, kind of make the RGB kind of unison, top, bottom, right, and left kind of thing. That may help. So I may be on the cusp of figuring out a better cooling solution, but DaVinci is going to fix my problem. DaVinci is going to make me get rid of RGB. Just say that.
It's real good. But yeah, I love spreading the gospel. And again, it's one of those things. If I have a real hard time now recommending anything else. I know people might be intimidated to see like a full-fledged video editing time. Like, oh yeah, the comments have been hilarious. You were explaining all this stuff. These guys are cracking me up.
It's Jeff that got me. TK's reaction was worth it. Anyways, keep going, Juan. Just keep talking.
Yeah, so I just keep the conversation rolling. It's it's one of those things like I get it where you can get a simpler video editing program, or you can spend like Premiere Elements or whatever. Get DaVinci for free. Yeah. It's free. There's no annoying watermarks. There's no limitation on resolution. The only thing is it's not going to use your GPU unless you pay for it. And if you don't make videos professionally, that's not a concern.
No,
it's so good. And of course, there are some other plugins too. Some of the more advanced stuff only.
I was going to say,
like Studio main timeline and all of the functionality you would get, and way more functionality than you would get from like an iMovie, and it's free.
And it is free.
Is just absolutely astounding. Gary the Fireman, if it's free, it's for me.
For me, exactly. Gratis para mí. It's always going to be one of those.
David.
Figure it out if you want GPU rendering. That was my only thing, because I think Juan and I were talking, and I forgot. I don't think I mentioned it to Juan that I never bought the license. I've always tried the free version. So I was telling him I was trying to render the video, but it was like still using my CPU for an extended amount of time. He's like, "Oh, you don't have the." So it's one of those things. I think they realize it. Yeah, for creatives, you know how much time is valuable to you. Like this morning, I could have saved seriously 40 minutes worth of rendering time, and published my video almost an hour earlier than it went up because of just that sheer simple process. And it uploads also to YouTube, which is also very nice. That I love that it does the same like what we get with Premiere. It renders and uploads as opposed to just rendering. And I think it has the presets much simpler. You know exactly when you're going for YouTube for what format, the 1080, 4K.
And Jeff is over here. Oh, I only have a lowly RTX 2070.
Dude, that is not a okay. So the 20 series is a very capable 20 GPU.
2070 is like a high-end card still.
It is absolutely.
Hold on. I'm gonna go to eBay right now. Let's see how much an RTX 2070.
The pricing is dropping, man. Do it quickly. Okay.
Yeah, no. The pricing is not dropping on an RTX 2070. Hold on, Jeff. You could probably sell that for a profit today. 700, 900, used 800.
Oh, absolutely.
Best offer. 2070. I'm seeing 510. Buy it now. 875, 850. So Jeff, shut up and use your 2070.
The 2070 is very capable. I think the 2070 would outperform a 3060
for Age of Empires.
Age of Empires, dude.
That's like me with my 2080, and I still like to play Command and Conquer.
Oh, dude. Okay, so Dave Burns is jumping in with a little bit of a flex right there.
Like,
I have a 3090, but that's
a little bit of a
flex. Hey, dude, okay. Up to the point when I was able to get the 3080, I seriously. The price between the 3080 Ti and the 3090 right now is so small. Like it really begs the question of, do you want just the best of the best, or do you want something a little bit smaller and potentially runs warmer? I feel like if you had to make a decision realistically, purely because of thermals, the 3090 is a better decision. It has a better cooler stock if you're going with the FE. It is bigger,
especially if you're getting close. I mean, like I'm good for now. If it's just for work, the thing that's holding me back is RAM. So if I try to do an 8K render, DaVinci freaks out because I don't have enough RAM on a 2080 Ti to finish off. I mean, like, unless the video is like 30 seconds long, which I could just do on my phone probably.
How long did it take you to render your? Oh no, wait, your OnePlus, you did it in 4K. Right?
No, it's an 8K.
No, you
video.
did an 8K. Okay, yeah. Because I remember you did the 8K, and I kind of
a really long CPU render. And I mean, it was like, especially for the few things that I put text up, it would crater to like 5 frames per second. It took
It animated
So
it added
long.
it animated it almost as if you were literally drawing the text on the display. Okay. Yeah,
I mean, like, not great. But the thing is, I'm really not lit on 8K video. For me,
I
it's
don't think
4K 60,
we're
4K 120, and I'm
I,
super stoked about
I
that.
feel like 4K 60 is for me the standard. I mean, that should be the standard on all the lenses that we get on a smartphone. That in 2021 is it's a shame that we still get smartphones. And this is not a specific brand. I'm talking it's across the board with a very few number. Like LG did it. I think the S21 Ultra does also have the 4K 60 across that does a decent job, but very few smartphones give us that flexibility of getting the consistent frame rate and matching color science between the different lenses. Like, I don't know why we still have to pick and choose what lens we use if we want 4K. We've reached the point that 4K is so attainable now, specifically on the lenses. 8K is I feel like it's a nice to have, not necessarily a medium that I feel a lot of people can share content in, mostly because most people can't consume 8K. But 4K displays or 4K TVs, at least in the US, are not that expensive realistically. If anything else, TCL has spoiled the masses with Roku TVs, if nothing else. Again, we kind of bringing the story back to TCL.
So there is something to be said if you actually follow the color processing that goes into compressed video at 8K. 8K will better utilize all of the sub pixels on your 4K TV. That's the same thing that I did my article back at Pocket Now talking about shooting UHD. That it's not a placebo effect. It looks better to watch UHD footage on a 1080p TV because it's a perfect 4:1, and every single pixel on your 1080p screen gets all of the proper color information. It's kind of like if you were to fake 420 versus 444 color compression. You can kind of do that by watching a higher resolution video on a lower resolution panel.
So better source,
whether or not,
the better the source, the better the quality of the
yes,
video that you watch.
And so technically the same effect should happen using 8K footage 420 on a 4K TV. But I don't feel that jump is as large as when we went 1080p to 4K. I don't feel you're getting so much more image at the viewing distances of our monitors and our TVs that 8K like looks better. I go back and I see early videos of Lex and they're all in 4K. And the few videos that Marie shot that are in 1080p look like garbage compared, especially for the phones that we had at the time. I mean, some of her earliest Marie videos were shot on like mid-ranger Motorola's, and you're like, the cameras weren't that great. So that kind of sucks.
I find some of the older images and videos that I think Vanya was doing on her. She used to have a flip phone, and I mean, you could definitely you could appreciate the improvement.
Back that far.
No. Omar's only 11. He's not that old, but I'm saying is it's within the last 10 years for us. We've gone from flippy Motorola phones to Nexus 1 that didn't even have a video mode. It only had an image shooting mode, right? Yeah. So we kind of went from that resolution to the Sony Ericssons of the world, of the flip phones, because my wife used to be very big on flip phones. So she was on the Razr. She went to the Sony Ericsson, and they have video capabilities, but again, it was a very small, like 0.3 megapixel sensor on the back, nothing big. But then you start seeing, once you start getting, the Note, like that was a massive revolution in quality of video, quality of images, and so on. So I'm appreciative of the fact, and she's a little bit sad that, essentially, I told her she has the best Note that there is going to be. There will not be a better Note that comes out after that, based on the trend that we're going. So she loves the fact that the Note 20 Ultra, the one that you and I did a nice little collaboration on, is her daily driver. So she's definitely very happy with that. I love that.
So I just want to hit this question from Danny C. Then we should probably start wrapping this up. How will DaVinci Resolve handle GPU encoding with a mid-range 1660 Ti? I mean, the nice thing is like DaVinci Resolve maxes out that GPU, and the GPU is a number crunching machine.
Absolutely.
So our GPU compute APIs and support have gotten better and better and better. I mean, even with the 1660. So before the pandemic, I was making some jokes about my Nook, where I've got one of the mini 1660 Supers in there. and just like, yeah, I really should have stepped it up to a 2060. I mean,
No.
that thing has been solid for 1080p gaming, especially 1080p at 60 frames per second, at least on most of my favorite titles. I was even playing Control and it looked okay. It didn't crater to the slideshow that I thought it was going to at like good 1080p settings. Firing it up for DaVinci Resolve, it's still going to be better than a lot of our solid consumer grade CPUs. The tricky thing is, I don't feel like people consistently or properly benchmark for this kind of stuff. So me saying, hey, this is going to do really well, is very dependent on like your video editing style, what kind of plugins you're using.
I was about to say, depending on how your timeline is set up. I mean, a complex timeline could, even if it's a 5-minute video, can still tank your GPU performance if you have enough things running at the same time, because again, it's just a process. It's computing, right? But it just, but the more you give it. Yeah.
Coming back to that. And again, it's this kind of magical card. I had to really back off, first of all, just because like the GPU, the component market has gotten so out of whack. People, there are people out there that would probably do bad things to me to get that 1660 Super in this current climate right now. And here I am trying to like trash talk it that I didn't get a good enough card in my NUC. But really, it's similar to like a 1060. 1060 is one of the greatest, most popular all-time GPUs. The 10 series cards were phenomenal improvements over the 900s. And the 20 series cards weren't that much better. So the 1660 is this really lovely little sweet spot in between the 10 and 20 series cards, and you can do some surprisingly capable. It's surprisingly capable. You can do some pretty decent heavy lifting with it. So I don't know that, based on your finances, if you want to jump into DaVinci Resolve, how you'd want to handle that. You can't really benchmark it. Like you can't ask for a temporary license just to try out the GPU compute. But if you were really wanting to get into Resolve and wanted the GPU support, and again, for at least the near term that I can see, you're never going to pay for another upgrade.
It's a value on its own. Just the ability. I mean, once Adobe went CC, it just drove me crazy that you could not just buy it on its own and get reasonable support. So yeah, no, definitely. Just getting the updates themselves, going all the way up to 17. And and obviously the future update, I think it's definitely one of the better solutions, and it's worth the wait. You factor in, you use it for at least 3 years. It's $100 a year. It's nothing. This is going to be the single source element that's going to give you your content that you're going to upload to YouTube, the content that you're able to edit, reproduce, format, change a whole bunch of different things.
But even if you just want to like spruce up your family videos,
like the free one actually could do a lot of good things.
The free could be great, but I mean, like you look at how much it would cost to step up to a nicer version of a video editing program, and every time I try and go back and like kind of fiddle around, like there was a Vegas elements, there's a Premiere elements. Going back to iMovie feels
I used to use Power Director. I started my original thing to start with was Power Director.
Power Director, great on a phone, not so great on a desktop.
It was a lot of work. Let's just say this: when I went from Power Director to Premiere, it was like, oh my God, I could do so much than what I was doing before.
And what Resolve is like, I can do a little less than what I can do in the full Adobe CC suite, but I can do it all so much faster, and it's way cheaper.
and there's a good chance that we're not using all of that extra. There's a certain point where you have diminishing returns on the fact that you're getting everything in the kitchen sink. You don't need everything. That's the thing. There's so many applications within the CC library that I don't even need. It's seriously Photoshop, After Effects, and Premiere, and Media Encoder, mostly because that's how I render the projects out. But the reality is, Auditions I don't really need as much. Audacity is for me is a much better, not much better, but it's a very equivalent, powerful tool that you can use that's available for free. So Audition for me for audio stuff usually works well. I haven't done a lot of audio cleaning with Audition. It's more, well, actually, I take that back. Noise reduction and filtering out certain hisses and tones. I've done that a little bit, but not heavy audio, I would say healing. If you're trying to fix audio, Audition's definitely for me a little bit still better, but I think for the near future, just for the sanity of my production, I think a DaVinci Resolve Studio license will definitely fix my problem.
And the audio plugins are pretty good.
Yeah, no,
The noise reduction and stuff is pretty close.
That's the part that I want to definitely, like I said, it's once you learn how to use it, that it becomes a powerful tool. I need to embed that into the memory, that the way I have CC, and that's going to get me to appreciate it more. That's why when I said it's a slower transition than I would imagine, and I think I read somewhere that you're able to import Premiere projects into Resolve to be able to try to do like benchmarking between the two. So I need to read a little bit more on that and see it.
I mean, again, so like there was a lot of that with Vegas. Like we were finally opening up support for these types of projects, but it doesn't really work if, again, you'll play with it. You'll see what I mean.
Well, it's more to, if I'm trying to do a one-to-one.
Yeah, it works for like a timeline and like edits and stuff, but you take for granted like, oh, I was using this text plugin to get this kind of title, when obviously that's not going to transfer over, and
you have to find the comparable
things. Yeah.
So
that's right. If it's more just like simple basic timeline and cutting, then yeah, it's great. But actually, I should probably get going.
You're going back to the park?
A little late to the stream, but
are you going back to the park? Is that what this is?
Yeah, it's like all the weirdos come out at night, and I'm missing it.
only one late at night. Yeah.
So first of all, successful test though, in the worst way to test like a phone stream. Like I felt like that did work though.
No, I absolutely. I was.
I feel like we now need to take the show on the road. Like
we gotta
literally
both
go some wireless mics and just kind of prop up our phone, go mukbang, something like that. It's gonna be great.
Dude, we gotta do it. We gotta do it. I honestly was gonna pitch the idea to you like last night. I say, hey, dude, why don't we just go out, and why don't we just go do it at the restaurant or do somewhere, find a place to sit down and do it like tomorrow morning or something. But timing and things in life, and today was a very busy day, also a day job stuff. So but I'm glad at least. I mean, I feel like the best of my week this time is kind of like a double winner. We got the TCL kind of coming in with some nice options for us, and finally we're able to talk about Xperia. I've been
happy Xperia day.
I've been wanting to talk. I've been wanting to talk to you guys about it for some time. Like it's that teaser that we got a chance to put out the picture. I felt like I felt weird because I'm like I'm putting a picture, but I can't really talk about it. Like it's there. It's there. I got a chance.
Jonathan's got the right idea. Hook up your cameras to your Xperias.
Dude, absolutely. Live stream straight off of it with US Mobile. I think that's not a bad idea. That's a great way to test it out, just to see how well we're able to, just take our cameras with us and use them as external monitors. The power of the 4K panel, let it work.
How hilarious would it be too? Like I should hit up the US Mobile guy. I mean, my demo sim has already run out, but I should hit him up and be like, TK and I are going to go stream at a restaurant. And we're still going to have individual windows. So we each need our own phone.
So we need our own phone.
Uploading a signal. So I need another SIM card because I don't want to max out my current data cap.
Because we could definitely run through it, especially for an hour stream. I'm pretty sure it is at 720, but it could still.
That's a lot.
If we try to run it on OBS, I mean, if we would jump over to OBS, but then we would need to bring our laptops and stuff like that. Actually, there's things if you're trying to go higher than 720.
We could try and do slobs.
Yeah,
we try to make that work. But
so yeah,
we'll chat about this offline because that worked way better while I was actually walking through my neighborhood. I feel like if I were just sitting somewhere, it would probably be better. Again, you're not walking around under towers and stuff. So I'm now very much more encouraged to try a bit more mobile streaming than I've done in the past.
I'm glad, and I'm glad that you got a chance to check them out with the buds. And I am going to hit up Brad and see if I'll be able to get my hands on one of those because I noticed quite a few people had them, and I was like, okay, I seem to be the only one that missed them, unless I had them and I missed them. But I did you get the water bottle as well? Did you get a chance to play with that?
I haven't plugged it in yet. I'm gonna do like a little one-off short, just like it's ridiculous. It's got a speaker in the
yeah, it's a built-in speaker. You're walking around, you're drinking water, and it's like, hey, I'm listening to music, I'm drinking water, all of that good stuff. Yeah, exactly. So with that being said, I do want to say, I guess, what would you say is your best day of the week? Is that roughly about the same? Did I capture that correctly for you?
Oh yeah, real good.
Absolutely. So what I would probably say is thank you for everybody for hanging out with us. We got a chance. We're still in the beginning of it. Hopefully we'll see some more content from us on the Xperia, hopefully in the near future for myself as well as from Juan. It is definitely a very, what was that T-Mobile sim or the Verizon? Oh, okay. I think it runs on T-Mobile and AT&T, I think in my area, right? US Mobile, I think piggybacks
US Mobile,
on
no, they don't piggyback on AT&T.
AT&T.
So
it's purely
T-Mobile.
T-Mobile.
I think if you have
T-Mobile
the
and Verizon,
card,
then
it's Verizon.
Oh, then that's probably what I have.
And
but
if you have
I
the
did
white
not
card,
use.
it's
Does it say?
it's T-Mobile.
It doesn't say on the back if it is Verizon or not, but I do know that
you gotta look. Like they do this weird thing where it's like super LTE versus LTE plus, and one of that is their code phrase for Verizon, and the other is their code phrase for T-Mobile. But
well, I can say this: the one I'm using right now is T-Mobile all the way because that's literally how it registered on my phone. Even though it's a US Mobile, it still gives me T-Mobile signal all the way. And I'm getting crazy, like really, really fast. I'm so happy that Xperia finally has 5G. Not because I want to be on it all the time, but it's just the ability of going up to 650. This is better than what we had with Sprint. Remember back when we played with Sprint?
When we were like under
the
only tower they had that no one else was on.
Marina Del Rey, you could see it from the top of that building. Yeah, 400 was the best. 650 in relatively, like, seriously 5 minutes outside of my house is crazy. So but yes, we'll have to figure out. We'll definitely plan something with the beautiful hot summers that are coming here in Southern California. If you guys celebrate 4th of July, by the time we see you guys next week, please happy 4th of July. It's going to be Sunday, obviously. Make sure to check out our live stream. I'll say this. I'm going to throw a little bit of a nugget here, a teaser for Saturday. You're going to want to check the Saturday show. There's a big announcement coming up. I'll just say that. I'm gonna leave it there. It's something that
that's a good tease. Don't spell it out anymore.
Yeah,
that's the right tease. It's good.
I'm gonna leave it there. Yeah, have a good rest of the week, and if be safe, enjoy it. We'll see you guys next week for another episode, obviously at the best of our week with our buddy Juan Carlos Bagnell and myself, TK Bay. You guys know where to find us online. Be safe, stay safe, and take care, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bam.
Bye.